Morning. It's 11 a.m. Sunday, and today I'm sharing the 48th meditation technique from the Osho Book of Secrets. In the background, you might hear my cat. Her name is Mystery. She's seeking my attention. She's been fed, let out, let in, but you might hear her in the background. She likes to talk sometimes, so if that's what you hear. So this technique is not so much a meditation that we can do and share together today, and you'll understand why when I share the instructions. And certainly Facebook Live would not allow me to share it in the way that it does. But it's something to do with your partner, to share. So before I go into the instructions, actually I'll read the instructions first and then I'll talk, and I'll go through what Osho's sharing and a little of my own experience of Tantra. So the sutra says, at the start of sexual union, keep attentive on the fire in the beginning, and so continuing, avoid the embers in the end. So that's why I can't share this technique. I'm not going to be doing sexual union on Facebook Live. But when we think of Tantra, and this technique is more, I'm going to share what Osho says and a little of my own understanding. When we think of Tantra, we think of sex. We immediately go to, tantric sex. And it's interesting that this is the 48th technique, because we've done lots of other techniques prior to this particular one, whether it's working with our ears, our senses in our ears, our eyes, our breath. And Tantra is about including and experiencing everything. It isn't just about sex, but it does include sex, unlike other, say, religions. I mean, this is not so much a religion, it's a way of living, way of experiencing. And in this technique, this is something that you can experience or experiment with your partner. And when we think of sex, it is usually often a hurried affair. It's something that we get over and done with. We build up in sexual energy and we want to release it and get rid of it as quickly as possible. And this technique is about staying with the beginning. So I'll just read a little bit about what Osho says. He says, at the start of sexual union, keep attention on the fire in the beginning. While you are overflowing, do not think in terms of release. Remain with this overflowing energy. Do not seek ejaculation. Forget it completely. Be whole in this warm beginning. Remain with your beloved or your lover as if you have become one. Create a circle. And then Osho goes on to talk about that normally in the normal sex act, 4 persons are there. We hide our sort of feeling self, our open, vulnerable self, and we go into the sex act thinking, am I doing it right? Does this person like this? Will he hurry up? I've got to do the shopping, or, we're just in the mind. We're not, sex is becoming more and more cerebral. So it's all about in the head. So we read about it, talk about it, watch it. But to be in it fully and wholly is something that is often lacking. And Tantra helps us to move into it wholly. And in that moving into it wholly and focusing just on the energy and the sensations, we move from the mind thinking about sex to being in the sex and in the act itself, and we become no mind. And Osho talks about that we're divided into 2, and he says, ordinarily, when you're in the sex act, there are 4 persons, and this is a square. So I just drew something just to illustrate a square here. So the normal sex act, there's 4 persons, and it's there's no real connection there. There's no meeting, you know. It's just a cerebral thinking act, and it's often awkward and uncomfortable and not great for both sides. And then sometimes he talks about that the second type is a meeting is like a triangle. So for a moment, the two persons become one, you know, and we have a meeting. And that's sometimes you like go, oh, wow, you have that experience of, why can't it always be like this? You know, for a moment, the two people, the two thinkings become one meeting. And you get a taste, a touch of the samadhi, a taste of the ecstasy. And then the third one, and this is the best, that in the tantric meeting, you become a circle. So the energy is flowing between the two persons. You become one, and it's a cyclical experience. And to achieve that, what Osho says is that, one, not to hurry. How do we do this? How do we stay in the beginning without focusing on ejaculation and coming? Now, there's a difference between orgasm and ejaculation. Ejaculation is the physical release. Orgasm is those waves and waves of energy flowing through you that are blissful and ecstatic. And really, this is something for you to play around with and experience, and to go in with an open curiosity. But he says, how do we do this? So he says, first, don't take the sex act as a way of going anywhere. Don't take it as a means. It is the end in itself. So the sex itself is the end in itself, not the not the ejaculation, not the end, not the, okay, let's quickly do it, ooh, and then we're done. It's not that. It's the whole experience, the meeting of the eyes, the meeting of the bodies, the meeting of breaths, bringing it together, and this circle and this energy moving together. And this is something that you can play with. And the thinking mind might come in and you be aware of it. And Tantra's all about accepting and being aware of it. And the thinking mind might come in the moment of sex, and being aware of that, looking at it, and then dropping it and being with your beloved. Or maybe just wholly focusing your attention on touching them. You know, we did a technique a number of months ago where we became the caress. So you could start by becoming the caress and feeling the energy and the warmth between you and tapping into each other's energy. This is what you can do in this technique, in this sex act. It also says, remain in the present. Enjoy the meeting of two bodies, two souls, and merge into each other, melt into each other. Forget that you are going anywhere. Remain in the moment, going nowhere, and melt. Warmth, love should be made a situation for two persons to melt into each other. The other thing he talks about is that as you go more and more deeper into this, that certain mysteries unveil themselves, certain experiences, and a deep silent communion will happen between the two body energies. And he talks about how you can remain hours together. I know there was a big, I think Sting was interviewed to have said that, he did Tantra and he lasted for hours. People thought that he was just having sex for hours, but it's the whole experience can be for hours. And he says, don't think. Remain with the moment, deeply merged. It becomes an ecstasy, a samadhi, cosmic consciousness. And if you can know this, if you can feel and realize this, your sexual mind will become non-sexual. And then a very deep celibacy can be attained. So the more that you try to force yourself to be celibate, the more you'll think about sex, the more you're attached to sex. And we see this in religions. I grew up as a Catholic, and I was taught that sex is bad, it's sinful, it's dirty, and that you shouldn't do it. That it was only for procreation. This was particularly strong in Ireland, and it was for no other purpose. And it took me a very, very long time to drop that conditioning, to be open to the aliveness of genuine, beautiful, orgasmic sex. And I can tell you from experience, trying to repress your sexuality will not work. It keeps you more and more attached to it. Whereas embracing it, being with whatever's arising, you move through it, and then you start to go and experience something of the beyond. So try this technique. I'm just going to read it again. At the start of sexual union, keep attentive on the fire in the beginning, and so continuing, avoid the embers in the end. In other words, be with the beginning of the sex act. Be with that. Allow whatever happens to arise. And don't think about the ejaculation. But if orgasm arises, that happens naturally. And you will find that your energy will remain high afterwards. You won't get that drop, that depression, that, oh, is that it? You'll just stay in this lovely, warm, flowing energy. So I hope that you get to experience and try this. And I'll be here next Sunday for the 49th technique. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you.